Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sax, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sax.
Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of Someone You Should Know. Very, very glad you decided to spend a little time with us. I think you're going to find today's show to be very, very eye-opening, enlightening, informative. So sit back, relax, pour another cup of coffee or pour yourself another cold drink. Sit back, relax. I think you're going to enjoy today's show. And we are brought to you by the networking diva. I tell you about Christine Dean all the time. And you know what? I'm really happy that some of you have reached out to me and said, you know what? She is everything that you have said she is and more. Because Christine Dean is a master at marketing your website, your businesses, your business connections, and the strategies that you use for all of the above. So if you want any information whatsoever about how to improve your presence on the internet and make what you're doing even better, reach out to Christine Dean, thenetworkingdiva.com. Okay, reach out. Thank you very, very much, Christine. We love you to pieces. Today I have, I research the internet, and I get names from a lot of different sources about people, and I'm always looking for those special people that have not only a great story to tell, but a great backstory to tell. And I think you are going to find today's guest to be one of those people. I welcome Dr. Luissa Kiprono to the show. Doctor, thank you very, very much for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to talk with me. You are a very, very special lady in so many ways.
Stuart, thank you so much for inviting me.
I say that about a lot of my guests, that you're very special, but you wear more hats than most people probably have in their closets. You are a doctor in a very specialized area, working with at-risk pregnancy patients. You are an immigrant from I forgot what country, from Romania.
Romania, former Communist Romania, yeah.
And so, I mean, that's one aspect of your life that we want to touch on, and all. But you also are a complete health nut, because you are a triathlete, which it just completely blows me away. I always wanted to do it. I'm not a very good swimmer. I was pretty good on a bike, and I could hold my own on the asphalt. But kind of swimming was a little bit of my downfall. But we'll also talk about some of your triathlon accomplishments too. But I guess the first thing that I want you to share with the people that are watching and listening is, what was the timeline from you as a child growing up in Romania, and some of the things that you had to endure ultimately that you ended up here in the United States?
Okay. I'll make it like an under 1 minute synopsis. So I was born in Communist Romania. I was raised in Communist Romania by my mom and my grandparents up until I was a month shy of the age 19. On April 18, 1987, I came here for a 2-month visit. I didn't speak any English. I spoke only French, German, Romanian. And I came to visit my father on this 2-month visit to get to know him. Didn't know him at all. So those 2 months ended up becoming a lifetime, and not by choice. Anyway, not in the beginning. Through some very unfortunate circumstances, I was not allowed to go back home by my father. I was kept captive for 7 years in his household. My passport was taken away. They changed my name. I was coerced into asking for political asylum, which automatically makes you an enemy of the state. So I couldn't go back afterwards, even if I wanted to. And then 7 years later, I regained my independence. I got my American citizenship, moved out, went back to school, finished my undergrad, joined the Air Force. And 15 years later, I graduated from medical school. I became a physician.
15 years. So you said you came here in 87, and it was 7 years basically before you were able to move your life forward. You were
Correct.
Basically underneath an umbrella that you couldn't get out of.
Correct.
What does that do to a person psychologically to know that you have all of this energy to give, but you're being restricted from being allowed to do it?
Nobody asked me that question, but it's such an amazing question, Stuart. And I have to tell you that because everybody reacts different. I grew up among people that loved me, appreciated me, never put me down. And I was a very outgoing person. Like, I need to do something. I need to get something for home. I need to, go there and make friends, have friends at very high places. That was me. That's just a true social butterfly. And I come here and imagine then from day to night, I don't speak language. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. I'm by myself with practically a stranger. I don't know the system. So it was, you don't have to be put in jail to feel like that, or put in shackles. It just strips you of everything that you ever known and loved and communicate the system, the language, the people, and then it just, you become helpless. And so I liken those years, especially in the beginning, with the 7 stages of grief that humans go through when they are faced with something that comes as a surprise, and it's just they're faced with like a very, very tough deadline. Like, hey, I got 6 months to live. You got 6 months to live. Well, let me tell you that there is no negotiation there. And, people first go through, that denial. And then they surprised and they're like shock, denial,
right.
Bargaining. Then comes, revolt within themselves, guilt. And then by the end, you're just kind of accepting the reality of things.
Yeah, you either choose to challenge it or you go into depression, which quickly goes downhill.
Correct.
Now, at this time in 87, you're a young woman, and all you had you were restricted with no social life, no interaction with other people because of both language and just being restricted.
Yes.
That, I mean, I can't even fathom what that is like. But what was it about you that said there's a light at the end of this tunnel, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to go for it? Because what was the turning point that allowed you to break free from that? You said it was almost 7 years. That's hard to believe.
So in everyone's life, there are a couple of, I call them lighthouses. Definitely when you have a very strong, loving, secured, grown-up time, okay, like childhood and young adulthood, it gives you points of reference. So you can imagine how those children, when they grow up and they don't have that buffer. Imagine growing up from a little person, from a baby, and all you know is abuse, neglect, trauma, trust, mistrust. You don't have a point of reference, so it's easy to get manipulated, and it's easy for you to cling on. Just about anybody tells you a good story, right? Well,
Yes.
I was blessed that I had that huge base to start from, and it was like almost, think about getting surrounded by a pit of snakes, and all of a sudden you just close your eyes and say, somewhere, sometime, it was something else. It was something beautiful. It was something better. It just creates like a shell of protection on your psyche. The second thing was my mom. So my mom was in Romania, and I kept very strong connections with her. I was allowed to call her once a week on Sundays for a couple of minutes. But that was with a fight. So by after a while, actually, I started having PTSD. Every time I would pick up the phone, I would just start shaking. I was really nauseated because I would expect or anticipate there would be a fight that, you're not supposed to call. Why should you call? Why don't you just let it go? It's, we don't have the money to do that, and so forth. The third one was a cat. He had a cat. So that cat became my trusty old friend. She would sleep with me in bed, and would just go to the cemetery together and walk by me like a dog.
That was your safety blanket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you asked one more question. What snapped? So after I was forced to file for political asylum, my father promised me two things. I said, I am not going to the authorities. I will agree to stay here under two conditions. You bring my mom here to America and you remarry her so we can have a family. Mm-hmm. Second was you help me become a physician. I've always wanted to become a physician since I was a fifth grader. So he promised me both, and none of them did come to par. The first one didn't come to par like within a month after I stayed, and actually the same evening after I put my paperwork, where I was coerced into putting my paperwork for political asylum. The second one took a while. So in 1993, because the reason I say that is because he would let me take about a course a semester, like towards a college degree, but not really enrolled. Right. And that's, kind of, the carrot, the carrot and the stick kind of thing.
Right. That he was dangling.
Right. We're going to go. And, think about it Stuart. I do not know the system. The system to go to medical school in Europe and in Romania are completely different compared with here. So, you could tell me that, hey, you could just go to medical school directly from high school or directly, I'm like, sure, because that's how it is there. Well, not so much here. But right. Again, not knowing the system, I believed. So in 1993, about 2 months prior to me getting my citizenship, my American citizenship, I was allowed to go back home for 5 days. And at that point, I spoke with my mom. And one point, I spoke with my mom, who told me that she spoke with my father. And I said, what was the discussion about?
Yeah, what was the outcome?
Yeah, so basically she says, I asked him, why did you keep our daughter there? And what are you going to do about her school and becoming a physician? And you know what he said? He said, well, Luissa will make a perfectly beautiful secretary for my real estate company.
So, yeah. So in other words, he was still trying to keep the arm around you and not allow you to blossom.
He would never, and he would never. It was never his intention to let me become a doctor, but I didn't know that. So that moment, it snapped. I kind of snapped out of. I was like, "Oh my God, there's nothing will allow me to ever escape this environment." So that, together with a small monetary gift from my mother, was $1,000, but in Romania it was a lot of money. Okay. She gave me $1,000 cash, and she says, just keep it for, forever, for whenever you need it. Now, I have to make a point here to tell you that I had an allowance. So I was working at a grocery store in New Hampshire, a supermarket, full time. And then I was working also for his real estate company. And I had an allowance of $1 a week.
Oh, in 1993.
Correct. So when I came back home to America, my new home, I didn't tell my father anything about this, but he left about a month and a half later to visit Romania himself. And at that point, I got my citizenship. I was scheduled to get my citizenship, so I got my swear-in. Then as soon as I got that, I actually moved forward to rent an apartment, put down payment for a car, for a second-hand car. And upon his coming back, I talked to him and I moved out.
You mentioned things that I wonder, what was it about your situation that prevented him from just saying, no, you're just going to be the secretary that I want you to be. I'm not going to allow you to move on. I mean, you were old enough and legally be able to make up your own mind, but you were being restricted.
Well, that's what exactly happened, because when I told him my intentions, I mean, everything was set up in those 2 weeks that he was gone. Literally, just so he was gone, I got my citizenship. I went, my good friend helped me, drove me around, found an apartment, went to my boss, the grocery store, and I said, I need full-time hours. I got a second job at a bank. And then, like I said, I got a secondhand car. And thankfully, I got a loan, because another thing that a lot of people don't realize, it's the lack of credit. So I tried before several times to get a credit card. And you know how it is. Well, we don't give you a credit card because you don't have a credit record. But how could I have a credit record on file if I don't get any line of credit?
The chicken and the egg routine.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those were my huge saving graces, that everything kind of aligned properly. And he was aware that if I am not financially independent, I cannot ever escape the situation. So again, I cannot thank my stars, and this was a miracle that it all lined up like that. And it's actually all written in the book, because I mean, these are stories like people think that it's like in the movies. It does happen. It happened, and it does happen. And when when I confronted him, when he came back, he called the police. And he hit me, and then he called the police, and the police came, and you will probably are going to ask, other people did ask me, why didn't you report him? And why? And what would have had solved?
Right.
Would have been in the papers as a casualty of war. Statistic. It will forever be in the record as a disgrace. And I say, you know what? It is his cross to bear. I told the policeman, the officer, hey, he won't let me move out. And the policeman said, she's an adult, she can. And that's all there was.
So at this time, there are so many pieces to your puzzle that are just starting to come together. You said that you started taking classes to get your degree, which took an incredible amount of time, but you had the fortitude to stick with it. Where did the decision to go into the military come in now? Now you have your citizenship, so you are now have the ability to serve in the military. Did you do that because that would help you financially with your studies too on the GI Bill?
So again, chronologically, in December 1993, I got my citizenship. I moved out in 94 in November. My mom came to visit. I brought her finally for the first time to visit me in America. Now that I was an American citizen, I could actually do that. And I am bringing this up because this was a tremendous point in my life. What happens is that when previously captive individuals or trauma, inflicted people, when they regain their independence, when they get back on their feet, right, and start moving forward, there is this huge adrenaline rush. My God, I'm free. I can do something with my life, something that I always want to do, right? Well, guess what? Life gets in the way, Stuart. I had to work. I had to pay bills. I was running 3 jobs. And what happened is I started subconsciously realizing that I don't think that this is going to happen. But it's not like that voice is going to say, "Oh, nothing's going to happen. You're not going to become a doctor." It's just you start losing that steam on that direction because life happens. So that November, the day of Thanksgiving, my mom and I went to church in New Hampshire. It was a small chapel at St. Anselm College where I used to take classes in the past. And during that walk out of the church, she asks me, "What about your studies, Luissa? What about your school?" And I stopped. I looked at her and I said, "Mom, what about that? Don't you see how much work?"
I'm already juggling all of these balls, and how am I going to fit that into also?
But at that point, I realized that everything is slipping away. Everything that kept me going and alive all these years was about to be lost forever because I was just losing it all because I had no time. So that moment, I decided that, you know what, I am not going to let this go for the second time because I'll never regain it. I will not become someone that wish didn't. I will
going to be held back.
Get it. Yeah. I will get my goal. I will go back to school. I am strong enough to do that. So she left in that January in 95. And then a month later, I applied for my my school, for my college, actually, degree, to go back to school. I went back to school in 95 at UMass in Lowell. Took me 2 years to finish my undergrad. And after that, I took a year off. I worked in research in Boston. And during that year, I found out about, by accident, I found out about the HPSP program, which is the Health Professions Scholarship Program. It is offered by the Navy, Army, and the Air Force for individuals who have excellence academic, achievements, to be able to go back to school of their choice, and they will pretty much, foot the bill.
Wow.
So I applied, and I applied to the Air Force. I thankfully got accepted to 5 medical schools. That was the biggest condition. You have to be accepted before you can actually get to be a recipient for the program. And I got the HPSP scholarship program through the Air Force.
I mean, this up to this point, from 1987 to we're now to 1995 and all, you have no command of the English language. You have to learn it on your own and then go into college and then on to medical school, get into a program with your past. To me, the thing that kept popping into my head was all of that trauma that you went through. We often refer to as post-traumatic stress.
Correct.
That you can't get rid of it. It's there, always. I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I have been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and it doesn't go away. But now you are pushing your life forward, and when some people may now, through military service, maybe experience some post-traumatic stress, you've already lived it. And so you are finding your path to get through this. And folks, we're going to be visiting a couple of websites. And the first one is drluissak.com. Please visit this website and all to learn a little bit more about the personal side of Dr. Luissa. Because there's an aspect of this that we haven't touched upon, and when you scroll down, you're going to see something that's going to grab you too. You have this physical fitness capability that how, when was it that you started running and exercising, and was this your way to escape the reality of life's every day, to just get out on the road and train and keep yourself fit in order to deal with what you were dealing with?
To the day. Yes.
There, look at that, folks. That is an Iron Woman. And for those that may not know, a full Ironman is what, 2.4 miles swim, 112 miles on a bike, and then you run a full marathon, 26.2 miles. Now, this young lady has already completed full Ironmans, and she and I will say, you are a master runner now. Are just a month or so away from competing in a half marathon, a half Ironman, which in itself, is there a mental part of you that says, this exercise is my salvation? This is my way to escape everything else that I'm surrounded with, and it's my time to be with myself.
Yes, I cannot put it any better than that. I was a gymnast in my young years in Romania. Then I did several other sports. But then when I came here to United States, to America, I know we don't walk here, right? So I started running, 2-3 times a week, short runs in the back of the cemetery. Between the cemetery and the apartment we were living, there was a railway station, so like railway tracks rather. So right. I would just run on the tracks, and from there, through the years, it's just running is really, like you said, my salvation. It is that cup that I have to fill pretty much almost every day. Now that I'm a triathlete, I have to run and bike and swim, so I have to juggle the three. But I did run marathons before I started in 2008 to start training for tris. It is my sanity check, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid to say that. I don't know what's going to happen when I will I won't be able to run. Because it balances me. I call it the meditation. It is a physical meditation. that while you're moving, think about when you run, right? Think of a pendulum, right? So I did some, I saw a therapist who does EMDR. And with the EMDR, what they do is there is also a kind of a pendulum that moves, and you concentrate on that movement, balancing movement that will take you away from the trauma and the PTSD. But no, I said to her, I said, I cannot sit down and meditate. I just can't. And she says, well, you are meditating when you run.
When
I
you're
said,
running, yes.
I get the most calmity in my brain when I run.
Yeah, I was the same way. Well, today I watch people that are out running and all with the headphones and the music. To me, I don't want headphones. I don't want music. I want to hear nature around me.
Mhm.
I can run through a park. That is what kind of puts you at within yourself.
Yep, I agree.
And I mean, I have to applaud you for continuing to do that. Now, as you get older, you are not. It doesn't sound like you're willing to put the shoes up on the shelf and say that's it, because it's still a very active part of your life, which kind of brings us to chapter 2 of Dr. Luissa Kiprono. You have a second website, and it is telemedmfm.com. And this is where you have taken your medical practice now to a point. The book is right over your shoulder there, and we have seen a little bit of it. The book is titled "Push, Then Breathe," and the secondary part is Trauma, Triumph, and the Making of an American Doctor. And this photo right here that's on the screen shows what you are doing now, working with at-risk women in their pregnancies. And not only that, folks, but she's not just doing this in an office in her home here now in the state of Texas, but you do it worldwide through telemed. Where did that idea come up, and how does that work? And how has it helped you reach women all over the globe that are in need of your services?
So after residency, I did my payback to the military.
Mhm.
And then during that, I really wanted to specialize in high-risk pregnancies. I personally have had high-risk pregnancy myself, but I think has something to do with the trauma that a high-risk pregnancy, it really impacts women. And I think there is a connection there between my desire to be a high-risk pregnancy physician and help women that are experience high-risk pregnancy, that are and the trauma that comes with it, because it's traumatic. I mean, these women, by the time they're done, they have PTSD. And I think that is the subconscious connection, and then with what has happened to me in the past. So
Sure.
I went back to fellowship in 2010. I was a single parent at the time. And after I did my payback to the Air Force, I got accepted in Mississippi for my 3-year fellowship. Then my first assignment out of fellowship was in Evansville, Indiana. I ran a practice there, a maternal fetal medicine brick and mortar practice for 5 years. And from there, I got a job offer in San Antonio, Texas. Now, mind you, I've always wanted to live in Texas, always. I swear, it's not a joke. In 2001, I did one rotation in San Antonio at Lackland Air Force Base through the military. And I liked it so much that instead of 4 weeks, I did an extension. I said 8 weeks. But life didn't want me to go to residency in San Antonio, so I ended up doing a military residency in Ohio, in the Midwest, in Dayton. So I was kind of bummed out because I already started looking for houses, but I said, you know what? God wants me to go this way. It was a complete full match, so I will not regret it, of course. But then when I got this job offer and I came and I interviewed, I said, oh my God, I'm actually come full circle on this.
This,
So, I accepted the job. I became the corporate director there 10 days after I accepted the job. And
wow.
yeah, so I was I ran that practice for 5 years, and during COVID. So the reason I'm
Right.
going to do this, because there is a reason, why COVID was so important. COVID, I think the only good thing out of this pandemic was that telemedicine or telehealth went fast forward 10 years,
Oh,
right?
tell everything.
Mm-hmm.
Businesses closed their doors and all, and the only way that you could connect with each other was through virtual connections and all,
Yes.
and that has continued even today. Five or more years after COVID.
Yeah.
But that, you're right. People had to connect with their doctors and other people via the screen, like we're doing now.
And you know what, Stuart, is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't. You can't put the toothpaste back into the toothpaste box or the
That's right. Yeah,
tube.
yeah. But what it
Um,
did allow, what it seems what it did allow you to do is to be able to reach people that were maybe in more rural areas or
mhm,
maybe even in foreign areas that
yeah.
didn't have access to the kind of care that they needed. And now virtually they had somebody they could connect with.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely. So during that time that COVID, as you said,
yeah.
came through, we ran into an impasse with the practice. There were a few doctors that left. Now comes COVID. I needed more doctors. I was recruiting. And the doctors who were supposed to come in to help fill the void, like locum tenens, they couldn't come in now because of COVID. A couple of them
Yeah,
were for health reasons, a couple of them were because of the military. Like the military won't let them come to another medical center because they were afraid that they get infected and bring it to the base.
exactly.
So I said, well, no, I got this bag full of lemons. I got to make my own lemonade once again. So I presented to the corporate office. I said, well, why don't we do this? Let's do telemedicine. Inpatient and outpatient will bring these people locums to cover this from outside through the telewaves. So they accepted. So I started the first maternal fetal medicine telemedicine program, both within obstetrics medical group and also the ComHealth locum tenens program. And it ran for 2 years until the practice was closed down by the corporate office because they got into financial troubles after COVID. So here I am.
It's like you get smacked in the face once and you turn your head and get smacked again.
Yep. So in 2022, the closes, right? I mean, it just broke my heart. And I'll always say that practice meant so much to me because I got it from the brink of closing all the way to 5 physicians, ran it through COVID, and then they decided to close it. So I was bitter, right? I was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to go in medicine anymore. I am done
Oh,
working for
wow.
another healthcare. I'm just done. The only thing is, it only lasted about 8 weeks, my bitterness, because I'm not that person to just,
It's not in your DNA
you know,
to give up on anything.
I don't fold easily, right? So so one day, and my husband has been telling me, I got remarried. So my husband has been telling me, like, why don't you open your practice? Well, I'm too old for this. Okay. I don't want to open a new practice. And then I get this. I think God wants to play tricks on me, by the way. I have a few times when I said no, never. And guess what happened, right? So this was one of those. So I go back to him and I say, you know what? I'm going to open a practice, but not a brick and mortar practice. I'm going to open a telemedicine practice. I says, okay. So I opened it, and I started working here and there. And I had a couple of organizations who really saw beyond, the myopic lens of the
Right.
healthcare system, and gave me the contract to continue in a partnership with them. And here I am, 2026, and I'm still doing it full time.
And you started telemed MFM when?
2022 in October.
2022. So you're under 5 years and all, but is there an estimate as to how many patients you have been able to reach out and help in that amount of time?
Like I said, I have full clinics. So that means
Wow.
you have a full, and a lot of people would ask, how does that work? So it's very simple. Just imagine, in so many words, imagine you go to a brick and mortar office, okay? Everyone is there. The patient, the sonographers, because remember, I am high-risk pregnancies. So sonographers, nurses, medical assistants, schedulers, the whole
Staff,
shebang,
yeah.
right? Except for one person. That's me. I am the one that comes in virtually and talk to the patient at bedside, in the hospital at bedside, talk to the patient at bedside when they get a scan, do consultations in a consult room, all through the telehealth system.
It's an amazing story, especially when, for those that are watching and listening, we started out talking about a young girl who came from Communist Romania with no knowledge of the English language, with virtually nothing, and built her life into what it is today. And I think it's a testament to those watching and listening that if you have the desire and the dream to do something, don't ever let go of that wherewithal to turn your dreams into reality. Doctor, I think I may have to reach out to you and schedule another episode, because there are a lot of things. I have papers in front of me with notes, and I never got to it because you are such a relaxing conversationalist, and to share your stories with my followers and also with the people that have been so successful with your help is a testament. And folks, again, we've given you the websites. Visit them, share them with your friends. Maybe you have someone in your family who is about ready to enter a high-risk pregnancy and may be able to use the advice and the care and the knowledge and the expertise that Dr. Kiprono has. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with me and talk with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate the time. I appreciate the praises. I would be honored to come back and talk more about anything you want, even the fact that the authorship experience. I think that I want to remind just like you said, all your listeners, that I'm more than my titles. I am more than my story. I am a living proof that resilience wins. So just remember and always say to yourself, I'm ready, I'm worthy, I am unconquered, and go conquer your world.
That's beautiful. And I end every one of my episodes with a quote from Oscar Wilde, and that is to be yourself because everyone else is already taken. So
love it.
Go out and make it a great day, a great week, and all come back and visit us for another episode of Someone You Should Know. And again, my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Luissa Kiprono. Thank you for all that you do and for just who you are.
Thank you, sir.
Someone You Should Know.